The question. Political analysts Wendy, Patrick, and Laura Fink join us with the hits and the misses of the first presidential debate. Ladies, good morning. It was such a night.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so first things first, the national polls have been saying that Hillary Clinton is on top, but Wendy, go ahead and start with us. Who do you think actually won last night?
Well, I think they both won in their own right. Now, Hillary Clinton showed a little bit of, she humanized herself a bit, with the shimmy, like everybody's been demonstrating so well. She also humanized herself by really smiling a lot more. In other words, she was polished because practice makes perfect. And she made it clear that's what she's been doing the last couple of days, and it paid off last night. Donald Trump, on his part, I got to tell you, he held it together through those 90 long minutes, sniffling and all, better than a lot of people predicted. In other words, he was reactive but not radioactive. Many people said it's a win for him if he shows up and doesn't blow up, but I think he went farther than that. Now, the problem is he didn't spend enough time on offense. He spent most of his time on defense, so he missed a lot of opportunities. Lots of both things that these candidates are going to be working on between now and October the 9th, that's for sure.
Laura?
Well, it's clear that the focus groups show it, the post-polling shows it. Even the pundits on Donald Trump's side frequently are saying the same thing. Hillary ran away with it. It wasn't close. And I think that was because he showed up and didn't do what was required of him. He needed to stay calm. He needed to maintain an even keel throughout the night. I think he started off strong, but he lost it probably in the second quarter of the debate and didn't come back. And Hillary Clinton maintained her composure. She was exceptionally presidential, and she demonstrated what people have been saying about her, that she is an extraordinary debater, and she did. I agree with Wendy. She made it human. She couldn't go up there as a battle axe. She had to go up there and be charming and show a little personality, and she was able to do that. And Donald Trump had some troubles, mostly because he refuses to admit that he's wrong. And so she nailed him on taxes, on his bankruptcies, and on his personal statements, and he kind of went down these rabbit holes instead of responding to the issue and moving on. So she essentially talked less and said more.
Seems to me that at the beginning, Trump was kind of hanging in there, and it got a little worse as the debate went on, maybe because it was an hour and 38 minutes. Any missteps that you can point towards each candidate, what they did wrong perhaps that they could improve upon in the next debate? Laura, there must have been something Hillary did wrong in your eyes as well.
Absolutely. I think where Donald Trump was at his best, his one moment of the night was when he was prosecuting her on TPP. She needs a better answer on TPP. I mean, that's clear. She needs to be able to explain her thinking from when she supported the deal under Obama till afterwards. So he was, and that was probably his strongest moment of the night. But then he lost his cool. And for Donald Trump, I think he needs to be able to admit when he's wrong and stop thinking that his strategy is the best one. I mean, I could see his advisors pulling out their hair when he doubled down and said that it made him smarter that he didn't pay any taxes potentially. That every single time that he went and talked about Sean Hannity for 5 minutes with no discernible reason. I mean, all of these things are Trump's reality in his case to be made, but it's not an effective way to communicate with the American people. So he's got a lot of homework to do.
Wendy?
And Hillary said that her first punch of the night was that he lives in his own reality. So that really is something that resonates, but both with the candidates and with the American public. It was interesting. They started out cordial. They both looked nervous to me, Raul, at the beginning, which I thought was interesting.
Really?
Remember, Donald Trump drank almost a whole glass of water in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, he was thirsty at the beginning.
Hillary, for her part, I mean, he attacks her on stamina. She didn't have a sip of water, no lozenge. She didn't cough once. So I think she put to bed some of those issues that, well, gosh, maybe she's not in good health. But what can they improve upon? Time management for Donald Trump. Spending so much time on defense lost him so many missed opportunities. He didn't say the Clinton Foundation once, hardly went after it all over her emails, didn't even mention the basket of deplorables comment. Lots of places he could have gone. Hillary, for her part, I watched very closely last night, as I know everybody on the set did, and she at one point seemed very caught off guard by some of what he was saying regarding her taxes. One other thing, she recovers very quickly, but because viewers are voters and because this was a split screen, face-off between the two, quite literally, perception influences reality. So she's going to be working even more so between now and October 9th on making sure that her visuals match her verbals.
Right, you just talked about those perceptions, and you can see that because they have them so close next to each other. I want to talk about the swing voters too, though, because that's what they were essentially supposed to be talking to last night. Do you think they did a good job of making sure that they talked to them and what's going to happen moving forward? Do you think they got those votes?
Well, I think that there are two segments of voters, one of which that they're each trying to reach. They each have a separate segment trying to rally their base. So Donald Trump has to really inflame the fire of white men, and Hillary Clinton has to take her rainbow coalition and young people and inspire them. So they're sort of asymmetric talking there. But then there's that 11% that I think you're talking about, and those are the swing voters. Now, I was watching Hillary Clinton and who she was trying to target. Suburban women, absolutely. Last night in her opening statement, she talked about women's economic issues and bringing women more integrated into the economy with things like childcare and family leave and equal pay. So her targeting of Donald Trump's demeanor was also a signal to suburban white women to say, hey, you may not agree with me on everything, but it's pretty clear in this split screen that this guy is shifty and unprepared and unpresidential, and I've got my A game. So that was her target, and I think we're going to see those numbers climb because she was fairly successful at it. Donald Trump, I think he would probably even go back to his team and say he had a rough night. He's got to figure out how to appeal to that same group.
Okay, let's talk moderators. That was kind of the topic leading into this debate. The pressure on the moderators, now they have to be the fact checkers in the moment. Did Lester Holt do a good job? Because we know, not that we were keeping score, but maybe some of us were. Lester Holt challenged Donald Trump a couple times, like half a dozen times. Didn't really challenge Hillary as much.
Well, he's got a really tough job, Raul. I mean,
of course
it's so easy for us to second guess the moderator. And remember, Lester had no idea what the dynamic was going to be up on that stage. This was also a gender issue, and some of those points that Laura just made really tie into some of what the viewers were seeing. He can't go too hard on Hillary. As much as we'd like to say, we're in 2016, it doesn't matter. It does. And again, perceptions of a bully going after a woman is still something on the minds of many Americans. Will it sway the undecideds?
Right.
Maybe it will. But as far as Lester's questions, he did try to jump in there and redirect the candidates. But also remember that some of doors were opened by Hillary Clinton that Lester didn't open. Donald Trump, of course, failed to go through them because he was so focused on defending himself. But the moderator, Lester did a very good job controlling two very contentious, long-winded at times candidates.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Lester he had a style and he stuck to it. His style was hands off. He says, I'm going to lob a question in there. I'm going to let them interact. And then he really didn't call people out to the carpet on very many things in general. And Donald Trump, as we know, has a little bit more of a flexible relationship with facts, whereas Hillary Clinton is very, almost to a fault, like wedded to them in a book-like fashion. And so he didn't call Donald Trump out on a number of things, but he wasn't going to get Matt Lauered. So he says, I'm not letting the Iraq War thing go. So I think that's when he had his moment of really calling him to the carpet. But we also saw how Donald Trump responded to that and Hillary Clinton's queries, where he just dug his heels in and says, I'm right. So that I think that dynamic was also because of Donald Trump's response.
I'll be biased for the anchor guy. I was supporting Lester because isn't it up to the candidates at this point running for president? If one says something that's incorrect, let them jump in and debate it and do the fact checking in the moment.
It's a two-way debate, not a three-way debate. Absolutely.
Okay, here's my idea was, in the next debate, why don't we get these fact checkers that were on Hillary's website, get the fact checkers on CNN afterwards, and get the fact checkers from the LA Times and New York Times on the stage, in the moment, live, doing these fact checks and say, hold on one second.
Objection, right?
Why don't we do that? Why is this happening after the debate? Why can't we somehow make that work?
Well, it's interesting because the rules of the debate were really not even set. Normally they sign a contract saying these are the rules. So maybe they could have done that. I think, though, that right now the mood of journalism is hands off, like we were saying before. Although what I did notice was each of the stations and the papers were more vigilant about performing fact checks on both candidates after the debate. They were like, we know it. We're going to play the role. We're just not going to expect Lester Holt to do it all himself.
And a good moderator makes the people forget who moderated, and that's the mark of a good moderator. You think, well, who really did moderate last night? All I remember were the candidates going at each other. So I think that was Lester's role, and I think he did a very good job of it. The fact checking is left to the rest of us. That's what we've been doing ever since.
The trilogy will continue.
I was just saying, with technology and Googling and Twitters and everything, the fact checking has never been more instant. I'm just,
that's for sure.
I feel like we could have like a live Facebook feed with them doing that, or something could happen. Come on, Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg?
Yeah, he can get on it. That could be part of the whole debate.
Wendy, Laura, thank you so much. That was fun, though.
Yeah, sure was.
We're looking
Good to see you guys.
Good TV.
Latest.